What's up? Is it good like that? Like, can you guys hear me well? I hope you can. I hope the wind doesn't get picked up by the microphone. It looks like it is a little bit. Hey, that's not too bad. So I think I'm gonna start the video. I don't have any other solution otherwise. Anyway. So I'm in Argentina right now. If you can see, it's a little bit blurry and overexposed, but it's very pretty out here. It's very pretty. It's not tropical by any means, but it's great. I surfed a little bit. I love surfing and it makes me very happy. And it's very chill, which I like. But there's a lot of wind all the time. So I've been in Argentina for like what? 15, 16 days, something like that. And I want to talk about something with you guys. Just pour my heart out, just get out the emotion and just talk about things about language learning, of course, in my Spanish. Talk about things that I think you guys would be interested in knowing, because it's way too easy to just share the good things, the things that make you happy, the things that you do end up succeeding in. But oftentimes I find that it's even better to show the struggle, to show where it goes wrong, to show how and when you feel out of place and you feel like you're screwing up, but maybe not in this sense, but when you feel like you suck, basically. And that has happened to me recently as I was in Argentina. So I've been speaking Spanish for a good amount of time now. I made a video about it like more than a year ago. I also, at the same time, I recorded myself speaking 10 minutes in Spanish, free speech, just me, my camera in my room, just talking all the Spanish I knew in a natural way, right? I did that again, I think a week ago, something like that, less than a week ago. So yeah, I've been speaking Spanish, I've been practicing my Spanish for a good amount of time. I've had some really cool encounters in Spanish, speaking Spanish with Spanish-speaking people in different countries, in Spain, in the US, in Canada, and I've always loved Spanish. Honestly, I've always had a thing for that language, to be honest. Love the people, love the culture, the cultures, because there's so many. And yeah, I consider myself a pretty good Spanish speaker. I can be a little bit witty, I can make jokes, understand some of them, have some nice deep-ish conversation, and just hold a conversation for a long time, right? Well, that's what I thought before coming here. And honestly, the first week, the first 10 days were really cool. Like, I got to express my Spanish, I got to speak, I got to really make use of everything I knew. Honestly, it felt great. I was just getting all that input in, just soaking in, like a sponge, the Spanish around me. Not to mention that, I feel a bit sore. Not to mention that it's a different Spanish. It's a Spanish that uses the sound sh instead of y. So for example, yo me llamo is my name is, yo me llamo, it's hard for me to say right now. Yo me llamo Luca, yo me llamo Luca. Right, yeah, it's much, for some reason it's much easier to say sh for me right now, because I've been really practicing that. So yeah, I've been just soaking in the culture, the things around me, meeting very, very cool people. It's been great. But, for the last week or so, 5 days, I've been really struggling, but it's fucking hard to speak Spanish right now. It's not like I cannot answer, I cannot understand. It's just that it's requiring so much of my capacities. I'm in a brain fog, to be honest. I feel like my brain just doesn't register Spanish the same way as it did before. I feel like it's so hard to get words out. It's so hard to be witty. It's much harder than before anyway. And it's been kind of depressing, because I'm like, guys, I speak Spanish. I know what you're talking. Usually I can answer fast, reliably, and just without making too many mistakes. But right now it's just so hard. I've been mixing up the, oh my god, it's something I really struggle with. It's eso, este, esto, esta. Like, all of those mean this, kind of. And I've been mixing them up so bad. And it's so hard. And like, even the genders, right? So I'm a native French speaker, so it should be easy for me because I know genders, but that's just not the case. Honestly, it's like some genders get switched, right? And some others are masculine even if they end up with an A. For example, el problema, el idioma. Sorry, I'm switching arms right now, it's gonna be easier for me. So it's been so fucking hard to just like put words together. Something that I could do easily. I could do that so easily before. And now, for the last week, it's just been like, yeah, me cuesta, as they say in Spanish. Like, it costs me energy, attention, and like my conversations have not been that good. Honestly, I've been struggling to like get a conversation going. I think I've been very socially exhausted, and that's something I want to bring up today. I want to talk about this problem, right? So a lot of people talk about the plateau that you really experience learning any language. I do agree with that. There's plateau in any learning, and there are solutions to overcome them apart from time. But it's like no one talks about the dip. What about the dip, right? So you can go up, but you can also go down. That's the thing with change. It can be in either direction. You can get better at something, but you can also get worse, right? So if you practice free throwing of basketballs, you can get better, right? Your neuroplasticity can get better with that. But it can also go the other way around, right? The change, for example, if you have, how's it called? Brain traumatic injury, BTI, right? If you have a brain traumatic injury, you can really suffer from that. Neuroplasticity goes the other way. As you old, you lose some abilities. If you experience a trauma, neuroplasticity can be awful because it's just, you're learning some shitty avoiding behaviors, right? So I'm in a dip right now, but it's maybe not as bad as I'm portraying it. And there's like a few things I want to talk about that. So the first one was that why isn't anyone talking about that? Because that's a real problem in anything. Surfing, ice skating, just social relationships in general. Like sometimes you just suck. Sometimes you're just bad, right? And right now for me it's with my Spanish. But there's also something else that I mentioned it's that I'm very exhausted emotionally speaking. Like in a good way. Honestly, I've met hundreds of people, like maybe not hundreds, but at least like 80 people in the last 2 weeks. Just so many cool people. I've had very cool conversations in 3 languages, so French, English, and Spanish. And it's been amazing, honestly. I've been having so much fun. But right now, I have not been getting energy out of those interactions. And this really like has an impact on my Spanish. And at the same time, I think that my expectations towards what I'm living and towards my Spanish too have shifted, right? I've always been very driven, very ambitious, especially with languages. Had I not been that ambitious, that driven, that keen on getting advice and on getting criticism, constructive criticism, had I not been like keen to engage in this sort of patterns or behaviors to get better, I would not be making a video, improvising a video in English right now, which is not my native language. But that's been really tough, right? So it really comes at a cost. And I don't think it's the best way of being, right? You'll tell me that it's just how I am, but that's actually not really true. I think it's really a reaction of my environment and of my childhood and of many different psychological aspects of my persona, of myself. And I've been really making some progress with that. But it's hard because sometimes I just want to speak like a native, right? and I'm not the only one. Many people want to achieve native fluency, but what it requires is actually what I would be avoiding if I really wanted to be native. I'll explain myself. Basically, if I want to be a native, I need to master, right? I need to be comfortable with all aspects of the language in any situation. So going for a doctor's appointment, shopping for groceries, certain types of interaction in the street, but also with people, just being witty, understanding humor, understanding the culture. And I think the hardest part about becoming a native speaker isn't really the language, it's like the linguistics behind it, because you can get pretty fucking good at a language, right? Your brain really knows how to detect patterns, how to change, to make things better. But what's really, really fucking hard is just sticking to one version of that language. So if I want to become a native, that's technically impossible, but if I want to reach native fluency in English, I need to cling on, or I need to attach myself, I need to portray myself as someone from one specific area, right? You can't be saying car, as in the car, and cuz in the same sentence, because that's like British English and American English. That doesn't work, because no one would speak like that, right? People might have a mix of the two, but generally they were brought up in one particular place, right? So all their childhood, they heard one version of the language. And when you're an outsider, someone that learns the language, the only real way to achieve this is to live in the place for like a very long time. And that's been achieved by many people. But if you're like me, you like to switch it up, right? You don't just like to learn one language, you like to experience different languages, travel, and not just settle in a new country, because I want to see more of the world before I do that. So it's really hard, because your accent, what you say, the expressions you know, the idioms, like they're from all over. So people understand that you're not a native, even if your pronunciation is fucking on point, even if you have the flow of a native speaker. If you don't have the flow of one particular native speaker that was brought up in one environment, in one place, or at least that was brought up mostly in one place, then it's pretty fucking clear that you are someone that just mastered language. And if someone talks with you for long enough, they'll understand that you're not from one particular place, right? And that's like one of the difficulties with trying to achieve native fluency. And something else I want to talk about is that it's not just wanting to achieve native fluency, it's also being disappointed when people understand that you're not a native, right? It's not just like something positive, it's also a bit destructive. So I'd be going in a grocery shop or anywhere and just asking for something, and then the wording I'm using, or something about how my demeanor, how I portray myself, something about my behavior screams that I'm not a native, that I'm a stranger, that I'm French, or that, and my accent too, in Spanish, my accent sometimes is okay, sometimes it's good, sometimes I have a French accent. I can't really control that when I'm in the deep of a conversation. I can't really just like focus 100% of the time on my accent. And just this dissatisfaction, right? It's really a primitive reaction. It's a primitive feeling, right? Your subconscious is like screaming, oh my God, I'm not, they understood that I'm not one of theirs, I'm gonna get rejected, I'm different, I'm an outlier, something that's gonna happen. And it's not the case. Like, that's fucking cool that anyone learns a foreign language and tries to do their best at it and tries to match the level of a native speaker. That's fucking amazing. But it's not good to feel or to cling on that feeling of rejection, because it's not a rejection. It's really not. Like, factually, it's nothing. It's just like someone understands something, right? There's a cue and they picked up on it. Some people won't. Some people don't care. Some people just don't think about it. They've never learned any other language. They're not interested in knowing. Some people just, yeah, it doesn't really appeal to them, or not at first. Some others do. And the problem with that on the side of the learner is that you get some frustration that eventually really doesn't allow you to get, I mean, it's a real paradox, because like, you're not satisfied right now, but you're speaking. Like, if you look at the facts, you're speaking, you're expressing yourself, you're living something in the language, like you're experiencing it. You're not just like studying it in a grammar book, you're not just like listening to it, you're deep in the groove, right? You're inside, you're immersed in an environment of your language. And that's like so fucking cool. If you think about it, it's, as a human, we evolved just to like pick up on cues around us, to observe our environment, right? Our nervous system is really built for that, just to understand what's going on around us, make predictions, try to do some stuff, get away from danger, and get closer to what's good for you. So if you look at the facts, everything's going great. Like, yeah, you might be making some mistakes, you might be like embarrassing yourself a little bit. That's like something that you forget in a few minutes or in a few weeks sometimes. But eventually it doesn't really matter. So if you're not satisfied with what you have right now, which is, by the way, what you once set out to achieve, right? I hate to break it to you, but it's myself actually. But like, we always, if you made any progress past saying like yes and no, you always have something that a past version of yourself knows, would have loved to have, right? So it's like, yeah, you can just like make an analogy with money or with cars. When you're, I don't know, when you're like a teen, you're dreaming of just seeing $1,000 or $100 for that matter. And then when you get your first job, you save 1,000 and then you spend it. And you're like, oh, that wasn't enough. And then you're like, okay, I want 10 now, I want 10,000. And then you go to uni, or you just get a good paying job and you save $10,000 and you spend it or whatever. You're like, you know what, that's not enough. So you're not satisfied. You're always like trying to get to the next milestone, the next checkpoint, right? But the thing is, like, there's always going to be a next one, because even with languages, to take it back to languages, you can always improve, right? Even if you're a native speaker, I don't care. You can improve how you sound like, you can improve your flow, the words you're using, your culture, your awareness of other people, like how you read the room and all of that. So if you're not satisfied in the moment right now, then will you ever be satisfied? And that's something I really struggle with. And that's something I'm always keeping in mind, by the way. I get this from the Stoic philosophy, from Marcus Aurelius, from Seneca, all those great thinkers of a past age. By the way, these guys were just reflecting on these very modern issues 2,000 years ago. And I find this really mind-boggling. But yeah, so will you ever be satisfied of how you speak if you're not satisfied right now with what you have? And I don't care how well you used to speak. I don't care like how well I used to speak, how witty I used to be, how I could understand jokes, understand humor, understand like context, right? Not just rely on the facial expression, but also like deeply relying on the linguistic structures. I could do this, but now I can't do it anymore. Does it mean that I won't ever be able to do it? Is it temporary? No and yes. So no, that doesn't mean that I'm not ever going to be able to do that again. And yes, it is temporary. Because I'm deeply persuaded, right? I'm not convinced because I haven't looked up the science on this, but from what I know about neuroplasticity, that would make sense. So I'm deeply persuaded that before you can just get to the next level, right? Before you can get to the next milestone, even though I don't think our brain works in milestones, I think that every once in a while, you really have to deconstruct your brain structures, right? It's like it's like renovating a house, sorry. It's good as it is, right? You're happy, but you want a bigger kitchen, you want something more modern, you want to paint the walls, right? So you're taking all the furniture out. You can't live in your house anymore. It's not good, or if you can, it's not comfortable before it can get comfortable enough. So you're putting in that money, you're putting in the effort, you're hiring contractors or doing stuff yourself, and it's not as comfortable because you're in the middle of something, right? You're renovating. But a few weeks after, a few months later, it's gonna be amazing. It's what you wanted it to be. But in the meantime, the dip that I'm experiencing right now with my Spanish feels awful. Like you don't want to be in the dip. No one wants to. Everyone wants to be good, witty, smart, funny, like everything you want. Like flirty even. I don't care. It's my YouTube channel. I don't care. I can talk about any subject. But yeah. So I'm persuaded that my brain right now is just like, hold on. There's like, I've been overused, I'm overheating, like the models we're using right now for your Spanish aren't good enough, they need to be actualized. So let me do some work here and there, let me just deconstruct stuff, let me shift things around so that you can be better eventually. And it hurts the ego because you're like, fuck, I thought I had it, I thought I was there, I thought it was the finish line, that I had made it. But guess what, I've been speaking English for 11 years. 11 fucking years, and I still mispronounce things, and I still get stuff wrong. It's so fucking annoying. Sometimes I do sound French. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I am French. I'm not gonna hide it, even though I want to speak English as good as I can, and I'm pretty fucking proud. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm pretty fucking proud of how I speak English, because to me, I get to have interactions in English that other native speakers can have, and that are not really accessible to people that don't speak good enough English, right? Because when you're talking to someone with an accent, when you're talking to someone that doesn't know English well, it's not the same interactions, it's not the same way, it's not the same feeling. Like you just put on I'm talking to someone that is not native hat, so you're a bit dumbing down your level, your speech, sorry, using other words. You're not expressing your culture fully. And I feel like I'm past that. I can just be around native speakers and have the time of my life. Sure, I feel a little bit tired at the end. I need to rest. If I've been speaking English the whole day, I need a good night's sleep, and sometimes my accent comes back. It's okay. But yeah, I was saying, it feels like you're just like reaching the end goal. You're there. It's like you can feel it. You can feel that finally you can get in the flow so easily. But guess what? Your brain has more to offer. You can get better than this. There's more, and I'm deeply persuaded that in order to achieve this more, in order to fundamentally change the way you speak, your flow, how much energy you need to put in to speak, right? Because it doesn't require as much energy for me to speak English than it does for me to speak Spanish, Ukrainian, or Portuguese, which is the last language I learned, which is the hardest for me to speak. Yeah, and now I don't speak as well as I used to like a week ago, but that makes sense. Like imagine all of the data my brain has been accumulating. Why would it not need a break to take everything in, to analyze everything? Not to mention that I've been sleeping in hostels, in crappy hotels, in cheap places, because that's traveling. And sure, like they can be noisy, there can be some light. My sleep has not been the best. I go out, sometimes I wake up early to see the sunrise. So the part of the day where my brain is really dissecting what I've been accumulating during the day and just like putting it in place, this part of the day gets neglected. But that's the reality of traveling. Like you're not gonna get perfect sleep in an environment that you don't know. That just doesn't happen, at least not first. But yeah, so that makes sense, right? I can consciously understand why I don't speak Spanish as well, why sometimes I answer, like that's mind-boggling. Sometimes, like earlier today, I answered in French to someone speaking to me in Spanish. I can speak Spanish. Like I've been speaking Spanish for so many years, 4, but whatever, 3 or 4 years, I forgot. But It's like I've had so many fucking interactions in Spanish, and yet I answered with me instead of perro, pero, or we instead of si. And it's like, Luca, what the fuck, you know that? Like, what's happening with you? And I feel like a lot of times when it happens, because I think it happens to everyone. My clients, I help people learn French, and my clients definitely struggle with that. They're like so depressed, like, oh my God, I thought I could speak better, but actually, and there's so much work to do. And I'm like, yeah, there's more work to do. Like, there's gonna be more challenges, there's gonna be more pain to overcome. But you know what? Like, look at how you speak right now. Isn't it great? Like, are you having a good time? Are you like speaking with me in French? Because a lot of my lessons are in French, and then I sometimes towards the end of the lesson I speak English to my clients just to like explain a few things. Like, look at where you are right now. Isn't it beautiful? Sure, you had better, right? It's just like with investments. Sometimes you make an investment and then it gets super high, like with crypto, and you're like ×2 or times 5x, 10x, and then you don't sell, and then it goes down to 8, 4, or 1.5x. You're still making some money, like you're still getting something, but because the human mind doesn't really work well with that, because there was something better before, you're not satisfied. And that's a paradigm I want to change. I'm really working hard on myself to change it, and it's that satisfaction shouldn't be a variable. Let me explain myself. I shouldn't rely on external, or even for that matter, internal events to be satisfied. Because at the end of the day, your internal state really gets changed by external things, and you cannot control external things, right? That's really the point of the Stoicism philosophy. So maybe if you're just considering your satisfaction, which could be a synonym of happiness. Like, you see my accent just wears off right now. So if you're taking satisfaction as a constant, and you're like, you know what, whatever happens, I'm happy. Like, I'm satisfied. I know I speak well enough. That's like it's not I speak well. It's not I'm the best. It's not I can do anything, right? Sure you can, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. It's really, I have enough. Like, what I have right now, it's good. It's enough. And when you have this mindset, first of all, making mistakes doesn't feel half as bad. It's like, oh shit, I used the wrong gender. Oh shit, I used the wrong conjugation. I mistranslated something. I use, for example, the verb or the word deserte or something like that. That's something I said for dessert, right? Thinking that it was the same in English, Spanish, and French. Dessert, dessert, and deserte. But it doesn't exist in Spanish. At least not that I'm aware of. It's postre, el postre. So you're like, oh shit, I misused a word I thought I knew, but actually didn't exist. So you feel like, but you know what? My point came across. Like, I expressed something. It's fine. I learned it. Now I know. Why should I cling on the negative emotion of not being able to say something right for a short amount of time? Right? Why should I cling on to that? And when I do achieve this paradigm shift, which is a constant work, don't get me wrong, it's not just like, oh shit, I realized it and now it's so much easier for me, I'm just like happy all the time. It's a work in progress. It's always a movement and not a state. So when you consider satisfaction as oh, my arm is getting sore again. So when you're considering your satisfaction as a constant and not something that you based on how well you were talking or how long you had a conversation for, because before someone understands that you're not a native, well, it's just so much easier. It's like, it's just a relief, you know? And it doesn't need to be, that's the catch is that it's not from a certain point and above. It's not like from being conversational and above, which By the way, what is being conversational? Like, is a hello, how are you? I'm good, and you? What's your name? A conversation? Yes. Is it being conversational? For some people, yes. And I would argue that why even bother define conversational? Because that's like, yeah, you can talking about a wide variety of subjects, but then can you talk about nuclear technologies? Can you talk about cars? Can you talk about psychology? Can you talk about politics? Like, it's super hard, even in your own language. Like, for example, it's very hard for me to talk about neuroscience in French because I don't know the terms. I've been studying neuroscience on my own, by the way, only in English. All the papers I've ever read were in English. So it's hard for me to explain stuff in French when it comes to neuroscience. Doesn't mean that I'm not conversational in French. Fuck no, I am. It's my native language. But yeah, that's, I kind of went on a tangent here, but yeah, that's my Spanish right now. I'm satisfied, but it's not as good as it used to be, and I think I need some more time alone. I need to really allow my brain just to filter everything, to make sense of things. And it's not just like the information, it's not just like logical, it's a lot of it is very like emotional, right? So if you've ever been immersed in an environment where people speak a different language that you're not used to or that you're not a native of, it's fucking hard. Like, sometimes you don't know if people are making jokes, you don't understand when people switch context like very fast. Like, sometimes people can just be talking about one thing and then all of a sudden they get hit by another idea and they're like, oh shit, I didn't talk to you about this, or shit, like what do you actually, it's like, it's very hard. It's emotionally draining because you're always on your toes, right? You're always like ready to adapt to a new thing. You're ready to, it's like, you're always on the lookout. And I think that's something that you acquire with time and with patience, the ability to be relaxed around speaking your language, right? Because there's like more relaxed. I don't think you can ever be 100% relaxed speaking any language because you're always somewhat filtering. You're somewhat filtering what you're saying. So you're like, if you're talking to someone that you don't know yet, or someone that you need to show respect to, like a police officer, you're gonna filter what you're saying. You're not gonna say everything that you mean in any language. If you're always you need some sort of arousal to speak a language, let alone to learn it. But nevertheless, if you can minimize this, like, if you can just like, okay, if you can consciously be calm, if you can force your mind, your conscious thinking to be deliberate, but at the same time very calm, and I would even say like kind of quiet, right? Not be jumping on any sign, not be like jumping to conclusions, or, just keep it chill. I'm persuaded that you can progress so much faster. It's like when I'm coming back to the same thing, when you're not satisfied and you're like in a deeply stressed state because you're not understanding, because you're not entirely sure what you're saying. When you're in that state, sure, you can figure some neuroplasticity, but one important thing to understand about neuroplasticity is that your brain changes for things, right, that are sources of arousal, but it also tends to avoid what it doesn't like. So if you're putting yourself in situations that are tough using your foreign language, great thing, I do it all the time. That's why I'm here in Argentina. But if you're just like not getting the relief afterwards, if you're not getting the satisfaction that comes after using your language, your target language, you're not getting a sort of relief after it. How does your brain understand, like your subconscious understand that it's something it needs to adapt to and not to avoid, right? Because yeah, if you put your hand on the hot stove, it's gonna fucking hurt, right? Doesn't mean that you're getting stronger, doesn't mean that you're changing for the better. No, that's something that you learn to avoid. And you don't want this type of change to happen with your target language. So I think this also goes through being satisfied, because if you're satisfied, if you consider yourself, actually, maybe you can tell yourself you're satisfied, but you cannot like fake it. So I think a better way of saying it is not be unsatisfied, not be just complaining about it to yourself. So if you achieve that state, this like calm, this inner peace, well, you'll be much more keen to get the high of speaking your target language, right? To get the good feeling, the serotonin, the dopamine. If you get all of this after, your brain is gonna be so, like, it's gonna be so fucking clear what it needs to change. But at the same time, it's not just about having fun, which, by the way, hate to break it to you, having fun comes with pain, right? It's like, it's either pleasure or pain. It's on the same, I just spat, sorry. It's on the same spectrum. It really is a linear thing, right? You're either in pain or you have pleasure. And when it tips one way, it needs to tip back the other way a little bit further. It doesn't just go back to the center. You just, right? If you spend a great day at the beach, then the day after, you can do something even more crazy, but it has to stop at some point. And then you'll come back, and then you'll be kind of depressed or a little bit sad or in pain, right? If you eat chocolate, yeah, you're gonna feel great for 5 minutes, and then after that it wears off. The effect of the dopamine hit, like the rush you get, wears off, and you're not feeling good. Same thing with music. You feel great when you're listening to music, but then after that the balance tips back, and then you feel a little bit of pain. So what I was saying is, I went on a very long tangent to say that it's not just about having fun, it's also to getting in situations where you're risking something. There's some sort of, not physical, but some sort of social stakes. So I think the best currency for that is feeling a little bit of shame feeling like tension for not being able to speak shame was a bad example, but for not being able to speak, feeling some friction, limbic friction, like Andrew Huberman says. And then after that, relax and just enjoy the conversation you're having, or just feel some sort of contentment. And then neuroplasticity is going to do wonders. For adults too, by the way. It's not something that is only works for kids. It's something that works throughout your lifespan, unless you have any brain problem, right? I think there must be exceptions, but if you're a normal human, normal adult, you can really tap into that potential. And it's not going to be worse than any 18-year-old, any 16-year-old, any 10-year-old. It's just going to be a bit different. And by the way, I had made a video about this like almost a year ago on how people think that kids are much better than adults at languages, which in turn they are, but it's more of a correlation than a cause and effect relationship. But you're free to go and check that video. I think it's still pretty good. So what was I talking about? Sometimes I just go on tangents. And I forget what I was talking about. I hope you're enjoying this. I'm not looking at the camera all the time. I always look at the screen just to make sure I'm in frame. It's not to like on the side, because I don't like that. It looks like the audio is fine, so that's good. I hope you can hear the sea. It's beautiful out here. There's waves. I surfed, like I told you. Feel good. It's 25 degrees, perfect temperature. Feels good to talk. Honestly, it feels good to talk right now. But yeah, I'm in a dip. I'm not on a plateau, I'm in a dip. And I think that if you never dip, it also says a little bit about how much risk you take. Kind of like with money or with success. If you're not feeling miserable sometimes, if you're not like just taking risks, it means that you're not really living up to your potential. And I don't think everyone should live up to their full potential. I think it's really a personal choice, but if you really want to speak your target language close to how a native would speak, like reach native like fluency, I think you need to experience those dips. And that's not something I'm foreign to. Honestly, like it happened to me in English not too long ago actually. It happened to me with Ukrainian, Portuguese, and I think I'm right in the middle of it, but that would make sense since I haven't spoken it in a while, and yeah, I don't know why I'm saying that. But if you're not in a dip sometime, like just maybe try to go a bit harder, try to immerse yourself in environments, which I think it's crucial to just change environments when you're learning or speaking your target language. And you don't need to emphasize too much on output, right? You're not gonna have to animate the conversation all that much. I think that even knowing things like how do you say this, or how do you say the word in English in your target language, even knowing those sentences in your target language, even knowing very, very little, which is what I've done with Portuguese, by the way, gets you a long way and helps you get a ton of comprehensible input, because guess what? You can see what the person is doing, you can feel the energy, they can mime things, so it's like as comprehensible as it gets, right? If someone makes the effort, even if someone comes, which is by the way how when Europeans colonized all those countries, all those lands, they didn't speak the language they were speaking there. Like no one knew how to speak Aztec or Inca, but they in turn they learned, and this is how it starts, right? They mime, they really, it's not just the basics. It's I don't believe in the basics, but it's not like how do you say yes and no, how do you say this. It's really like soaking in all the information that's not linguistic and matching it with what you hear. And then in turn, you can learn. And this is how I learned Portuguese, by the way, in English. But yeah, I don't know what I was talking about. Fucking hell. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you should change environments, because that's like the most you can get out of language learning. Just being around other human beings. Because I know it's the goal for everyone, kind of. Maybe not for some people that are like more in academia, which is fine, by the way. Like if you just want to study the language and how it works, it's fine, but that's not my language learning. My language learning is just living the best life I can, just having the time of my life learning languages, which comes with its own lot of difficulties and of challenges like I'm experiencing right now. But yeah, environments. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm preparing another video about that. I'll talk about this more, but wow, I've been speaking for 42 minutes. Fucking hell. If you're still watching, you're a legend. Like, honestly, thank you. I don't think I'm gonna cut this. Well, if I did. And I think I'm just gonna color grade it, just get the sound okay. I hope the wind isn't too bad. And then post it. It feels good. I think it's gonna be a come think with me, but it's not really a come think with me as I did like for the 3 or 4 last times. Yeah, come think with me, the concept I have on my YouTube channel, where I think about like one sentence or like one idea and I deconstruct it like live. I don't have any script. I'm just like doing what I'm doing right now. But this is a little bit different. This is a bit more personal, talking about my experience more. So yeah, I think I'm gonna name the video have you heard about learning plateaus, where here comes the dip. I think I'm gonna title it like that. Yeah, honestly, I love speaking to the camera and just like getting in the flow, especially with the white. There's like a lot of white sound from the waves and the wind, and it's just fucking comfortable out here. Like the air feels amazing because it's warm, and then it's beautiful around me. So I really get in the flow. I think the next videos on my YouTube channel are gonna be in the nature, like the last one I made, the second last one. But yeah, let me know what you think too. Like I'm keen to hear about what you think, guys. Like, what's your experience with that? Have you ever dipped? Like, I know many people that have, but have you ever dipped in the language you're learning and just like felt horrible? Do you think that it's just you that speaks, is you think it's that you don't speak as well, or do you think it's that your point of reference is moving faster than how well you can speak, right? That how well you can evolve. I think it's a little bit of both, which is why I talked about satisfaction for fucking like 20 minutes, and my arm gets sore again. Sorry. But yeah, guys, like I just realized that I was looking at the screen for the whole time. I just like doing that. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm FaceTiming people, I just get drawn to to the little square where my face is, which sucks. That's not cool for the other person, but they don't see it. But yeah, I'm looking at the lens now. I hope you enjoyed the video too, and you could just like maybe take a walk while listening to it. Kind of like a podcast, honestly. That's a podcast, yeah, because I'm just talking to the camera and recording myself, not knowing what I was gonna say. Of course, I've been thinking about that for the last 5 days, but yeah, that is so French for me. Just doing the. This is so French. Sometimes I do keep some of my French manners and some of my French things, some of my French expressions. Like it sticks with me. I like it. I like it. That's the end of the video, I think. Yeah, you guys take care of yourselves. Get immersed as you can, like for a night or for a year. Does the same thing eventually. Just find native speakers. And I think, yeah, just one last thing. What I love about Argentinians, that's not nice, but is that they're all monolinguals. Like they don't know other languages. So they're really authentic in the way they speak their native language. Like for example, my native language has been altered because I speak other languages, right? So sometimes I'm not like 100% French, right? Because I've spent quite a lot of time speaking other languages. But for monolinguals, they don't know anything else. So like, it's so authentic and they kind of like dumb down the language. They're just like going just how they would speak to a native speaker, which is fucking amazing. And they're so nice. Like I'm very surprised how Latinos in general are open-minded and how friendly and just generous they are. So if any Latino or Argentinian is watching right now, like you guys are the best. Don't change. Yeah, maybe some more videos like that will come, but I think it's been going for long enough, 47 minutes. All right guys, bye, thanks for watching. Love doing this. Let me know what you think and à bientôt.